That gospel lesson is one I really should be preaching on today. However, I've been moved the last couple weeks. I will go so far as to believe I've been led by the Spirit to talk about something else today. I have had an experience in my own life at a very personal level that I won't talk about, of grace that has really opened my eyes to blessings. And I have just been in a really good mood. I know it's not just because I went on vacation. But I want to talk about blessing today. And as last week I talked about my new glasses and seeing the world through new eyes in regards to vocation, I'm going to have a 3-week sermon series. I don't often do those, but we're going to have one now. Last week was how to see vocation through the eyes of faith. Next week, as we celebrate Holy Cross Sunday, will be the cross through the eyes of faith. And today, I want to talk about blessings through the eyes of faith. As I said, I've been seeing blessings a lot more lately than I used to. And no, Oprah watchers, I did not read The Secret. That book was once called The Power of Positive Thinking by Pastor Norman Vincent Peale. But all kidding aside, I do want to talk today about how to look at the world in a positive light through a specifically Christian way of looking at things that can help us see blessings. I believe that optimism and pessimism are choices we make. And they're not necessarily based on whether or not our life is full of blessing or whether we're having troubles. I find it interesting that the people in West Africa and the Lutheran Church of Liberia can show the Westerners who visit them from our church what it means to be truly joyous and thankful in God's blessings, when to our eyes they are living in poverty and a war-torn nation, and we couldn't imagine how they possibly even get out of bed in the morning, and yet these folks consider them blessed. Seeing blessing has nothing to do with how rich or poor you are, how healthy or unhealthy you are. Those things can color our perceptions. But optimism or pessimism is a choice. So I want to talk today about some concrete steps in how it is we can choose to see blessing in our life as coming from God. Step 1, start with others. The Pennsylvania Dutch humility is strong in this congregation, and so it's hard for us to say, well, let's look at my own life and how good things are, where the blessings are. So start with someone else. Look at your friends and your neighbors and celebrate their good things in their life. And I don't just mean wealth and riches in the material world, though that certainly can help our attitude. But I mean the gifts of family and friends, the gifts of health. Celebrate when others do well. That's a message that we do not hear in our society. We are in a society where, and I'll get to this a little later, we're programmed to never be happy with what we have, and therefore when other people have something we don't, we covet. Paul talks about coveting today in the New Testament lesson. Depending how you number the 10 Commandments, there's 2 about coveting. It's obviously a strong force. Living a life where we covet means we look at our neighbor's good fortune and say, oh, well, isn't that nice for you? Coveting makes us envious. It's more than envy, though. Coveting makes us disdainful of our neighbors for what good fortunes they may have. And say, well, wow, it must be nice because I wish I had that too. Instead of saying, isn't that nice for you? What a different world we would live in if we looked at the good fortunes of those around us and said, I am happy for you that, and then fill in the blank. As opposed to, well, you don't know how lucky you are. Must be nice to have that. So often our culture encourages us to be unhappy with what we have so that we want to envy and covet what others have. That is destructive to our souls. I'll just say it that way. And so step 1 to seeing blessing is to see it in others. To see and celebrate the blessings we see around us. Second then, also thinking about others, thank God for the influence of others in your life. We need to establish a culture of appreciation in the Christian church where we thank one another more frequently. And Paul gives us a way to do that, again, without tapping into the overly humble nature we can have in the church, which Paul, of course, himself encourages, to say, I thank God for you. Now the pressure is off somebody to have to receive a compliment with humility and say, oh, no, don't. To say, I thank God for you. Paul writes this in his letters so many times that it becomes a trademark of his speech, writing to the early churches. I thank God for you that this is going on and that this new ministry is surviving in a time and a place where the church was not exactly the established status quo and was at odds with the prevailing powers of government and empire. In the midst of all that, Paul could rejoice in what the church was doing. We need to step back and thank God for the people in our lives who matter to us. And as I said to the children, I really do think children have it way better than adults when it comes to following the words of Jesus in our gospel lesson today, to make amends one-on-one, directly, without holding grudges. I love how 5-year-olds can make up after just a terrible fight. It's just sobbing and crying and, oh, we're not friends anymore, and half an hour later playing again. If we could learn from the children, then those 20-year-old grudges in some families over something that did or did not happen or was said at a Thanksgiving dinner at Grandma's years ago, those things that keep people from talking. Put all that aside and thank God for the people in your life while you have them with you. There's nothing like facing death to bring people together. And sometimes it takes a family until Grandma is at her deathbed. It takes until someone is lost to appreciate the ones who are still with us and to live a life of appreciation for others.